Hi guys, Paul Gold here. Um, just been doing a lot of thinking recently, and I just thought I'd kind of experiment with a series of things that I'm going to basically look at the top of the game, the top level of the game, and while that's not always a good thing to look at, and I'll explain that in a minute, but I'm going to look at a series of changes in the modern game and how you can embrace those to put you ahead of your competitors. Because most of the time, people are kind of stuck in their game. They play the game they played 5 years ago, if they've been playing that long, and that's the game they're going to be playing in 5 years' time. But if you, even if you're behind them at the moment, can identify trends in the modern game, take those on board, put them into your own game, you're going to be moving forward, and in fact, they're effectively going to be moving backwards. So I thought that would be the standpoint from where I would start. And I'm actually going to start this week with talking about the serve. Now, we all know the serve is incredibly important, but what most people look at when we're talking about the serve is in fact the serve in the men's game. What I'm going to look at, and this is what I'm talking about in terms of looking at stuff slightly outside the box, although it's not really outside the box, it's still the top of the game, is I'm going to look at the changes in the serve in the women's game. And we're going to have a look at how that can impact on you. So, first serve is definitely a weapon for all the top players in the game. Just looking at the WTA, you can see that the serve is much more of a weapon for more of the players, but it didn't always used to be that way. You can look back at some stats I've got here. The fastest serving lady at the Wimbledon Championships 1992, 108 miles an hour, Di Schwartz. 2004, Serena Williams, 127 miles an hour. That is a massive difference. That's 20 miles an hour, and if you're looking at Di Schwartz there, 20 miles an hour when you're talking about just over 100 is almost a fifth, and that is huge. If anyone can improve all areas of their game by a fifth, for instance, you'd be absolutely off the scale. But the end result of that is that when those players are serving faster, and not only with an increased power, but an increase in accuracy and consistency, the end result is that they are now harder to break when they're making a high percentage of those first serves into court. And with the women's game years ago, basically all about who could get broken less. It's very, very simple. If you get broken less, you win more. But if you've got a great serve, the chances of being broken less is a lot better. So now what we're saying is those players are now not just looking at the serve as a way to start a point, they're actually looking at it as an opportunity to win a point outright, or at the very least to impose their game on their opponent. And that's what you should be doing. So the bottom line for them and you is that the first serve should now be seen as the first shot in a winning pattern of play. And there are several of those that you can use. Now the most popular, again looking at the women's game, the most popular being the serve and the aggressive ground stroke. Normally people stepping in, hitting the ball early, really just to build up the pressure on opponents. You've also got the serve and the forehand. You watch players making every effort to just make that second shot after the serve a forehand, and they're going to look to dominate from that one. And the third one is the serve and the backhand, and it sounds pretty obvious, but because of the domination of the double-handed backhand in the women's game, they tend to have an option to have a stronger backhand. And you can look at many of the top women players, Sharapova for instance, both Williams sisters, even Davenport a year or so ago, they all had much more powerful and in fact better backhands than forehands. That's not quite the same in the men's game. I think most men, you're looking at them having stronger forehands. But I'm looking at the women's game, as I say, looking outside the box and seeing how we can take some of those elements, how the women have changed their game, brought their game, probably learnt a lot by looking at the men as well, brought their game up, and how you can do that to improve your game. And like I say, leave your competition in the dust. How can you practice this? Great little drill for you guys. You basically play points and you give the server 3 shots to win the point. If you want to do it slightly easier, you've got the server, then you've got 3 shots from there to have won the point. If you haven't won the point from there, your opponent wins it, and then you serve again. If you want to go up a level, the server has 3 shots to win the point, and that can include the first serve, or really the serve. So I hope that made sense. Hope you got something out of that. I'm going to do loads more of these. Let me know what you think. Put me an email over to tenniscentral@gmail.com. Let me know what you thought. Tell me if there's anything else you want me to talk about. And I think it's going to be really good. Thanks, guys. See you later.